Our chief guest for today's international seminar, Professor Amar Pal Singh Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, Lucknow. Our guest of honor, Shri Deepak Kumar Lalla Sir, CEO, Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, Mumbai. Dean School of Management and Commerce, Professor Amit Kumar Singh Sir. Convener of this conference, Professor Taruna Ma'am. Please welcome our dignitaries with a huge round of applause. A very warm good morning to all of you present here. Vidya Dadati Vinyam, Vinyad Yati Patrata. Knowledge gives humility, and from humility comes worthiness. On behalf of Department of Management Studies, Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Lucknow, I, Mausam Verma, extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to our distinguished dignitaries, respected faculty members, scholars, and students present here. Resting on the strong foundation of our rich cultural heritage and powered by modern innovation, education is the catalyst that transforms a developing nation into a global powerhouse. As we gather here today at Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University for this 2 days international seminar, we stand at a pivotal juncture in India's academic and socio-economic journey. The world is evolving at an unprecedented pace, driven by technological breakthroughs, shifting global dynamics, and the demands of the 21st century knowledge economy. To meet these changing landscapes while staying rooted in our core values, India has embarked on a transformative path with the National Education Policy 2020. The theme of this seminar, NEP 2020, Transforming Education and Fostering Excellence for Viksit Bharat, is both timely and profound. NEP 2020 is not merely a policy document, it is a visionary roadmap designed to overhaul our education ecosystem from elementary learning to higher education and research as well. Built upon the five foundational pillars of access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability, NEP 2020 bridges the gap between traditional wisdom and modern innovation. It aims to move our education system away from rote learning towards critical thinking, multidisciplinary research, outcome based learning, and skill development as well. As India enters Amrit Kal with the grand vision of Viksit Bharat 2047, the role of higher education institutions becomes a paramount. NEP 2020 serves as the primary engine driving the vision forward, fostering self-reliance, Atmanirbharta, nurturing entrepreneurship, integrating the Indian knowledge system, and preparing our youth to compete globally while remaining connected to the ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world as one family. Over the next 2 days, the seminar will serve as an intellectual platform for critically examining the progress, deliberate on implementation pathways, and address the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead across 12 distinct tracks, ranging from governance, pedagogy, and digital empowerment to startup ecosystems and internationalization. We will explore how educational reforms can directly translate into national progress. To mark the auspicious beginning of this 2 days international seminar, we seek the blessings of Almighty and paying tribute to our guiding light. I request our honorable dignitaries on the dais to kindly proceed for the garlanding of Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar ji and lighting of the ceremonial lamp. तमसो माँ ज्योतिर्गमय गमय, अज्ञान के अंधकार को मिटाकर ज्ञान का प्रकाश फैलाना प्रतीक है इस दीप प्रज्वलन का. As the flames of knowledge light up this hall, they signify the pursuit of truth, innovation, and wisdom. Knowledge, equality, and empowerment. These were the foundational pillars of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji. As we gather to transform the landscape of higher education, we offer our deepest gratitude to this towering intellect and visionary leader. Thank you to our honorable dignitaries on the dais for leading this auspicious beginning. Moving forward, let us tune our hearts to the spirit and pride of our institute. I request everyone to kindly stand in respect for the University Kuldeep.
विश्वविद्यालय हमारे देश की शान है, हमारा विश्वविद्यालय हमारे देश की शान है। भीमराव के सपनों का ये नया प्रतिमान है, अवध का मान है ज्ञान कला की राजधानी। दिल से नमन मन से नमन विज्ञान की ये राजधानी, हमारा विश्वविद्यालय। बुद्ध के संदेश से दुनिया निखारे, सत्य अहिंसा प्रेम से जग को सवारी। ज्ञान ऐसा हो कि जो मुक्ति दिलाए, वो प्रखर इतना कि जो इंसान बनाए। हमारा विश्वविद्यालय हमारे देश की शान है, भीमराव के सपनों का ये नया प्रतिमान है, हमारा विश्वविद्यालय। आओ धरा को स्वप्न की धरती बनाए, आओ सभी जीवों को उनका हक दिलाए। संविधानी सपनों को हम सच बनाए, अम्बेडकर विश्वविद्यालय को, अम्बेडकर विश्वविद्यालय को ज्ञान का संसद बनाए, ज्ञान का संसद बनाए, ज्ञान का संसद बनाए।
Please take your respective seats. It is our tradition and privilege to express our reverence and gratitude through a token of green respect. I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor R.K. Mittal sir to kindly extend a floral welcome to our Honorable Chief Guest Professor Amar Pal Singh sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, Lucknow. कृपया जोरदार तालियां बजती रहें. I request sir to welcome our guest of honor, Shri Deepak Kumar Lalla sir, CEO, Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, Mumbai. I request Professor Taruna ma'am to extend a warm welcome to Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Rajkumar Mittal sir. I request ma'am to welcome Professor Amit Kumar Singh sir, Dean School of Management and Commerce. Thank you, ma'am. And I once again welcome all the respected dignitaries sitting on the dais, off the dais, and all of you present here. To set the context for this international gathering and formally welcome our esteemed guests, I now invite the convener of this seminar, Professor Taruna ma'am, Department of Management Studies, to deliver the welcome address and present the overview of the seminar. Ma'am.
Very thank you, Mosam. A very bright and pleasant good morning to one and all present in this seminar hall on the morning of 5th August 2026. I heartily welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Rajkumar Mittal Sir, our esteemed Chief Guest, Professor Amar Pal Singh Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, our distinguished guest of honor, Shri Deepak Kumar Ji, Chief Executive Officer, Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, Professor Amit Kumar Singh Sir, Dean School of Management and Commerce, respected senior faculty members, Professor S. Victor Babu, Professor Sanatan Naik, Professor Gajanan Pandey Sir, Professor Shura Darapuri Ma'am, Professor Naveen Arora Sir, Professor Sangeeta Saxena Ma'am, Professor Hari Shankar Singh, Professor Sangeeta Sahu Ma'am, Professor O.P. Shukla Sir, and all my dear faculty colleagues, distinguished dignitaries, honored guests, dear scholars, participants, and my dear students, a very warm and pleasant good morning to all. It is indeed a matter of immense pride, privilege, and profound pleasure for me to extend a heartfelt welcome to each one of you to this significant seminar on NEP 2020, Transforming Education and Fostering Excellence for Vikasit Bharat. The gracious presence of the dignitaries on the dais and of the dais has truly elevated the significance of this occasion, and we are deeply honored to have you all with us. It is a great privilege to extend a special and heartfelt welcome to the chief guest for today's seminar, Professor Amar Pal Singh Sir. Sir's distinguished academic career and unwavering commitment to excellence in higher education have inspired countless students, scholars, and educators across the country. We are truly honored to have you, sir. I extend my respectful greetings to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. Sir, your visionary leadership, dedication to academic excellence, and relentless efforts towards fostering innovation, inclusivity, and research continue to inspire our academic fraternity and guide the university towards greater heights. I truly welcome you, sir, from core of my heart. It is privileged to welcome our guest of honor, Shri Deepak Kumar Ji. Sir, your remarkable contribution to professional education, skill development, capacity building in banking and financial sector has significantly strengthened the standards of excellence in professional arena. Your presence today enriches this seminar, we are sincerely grateful to have you with us. Respected dignitaries, faculty colleagues, researchers, scholars, students, participants, I heartily welcome you all, and I really thank you for graciously accepting our invitation and being with us for 2 days. Your presence enriches this occasion and reflects our shared commitment to the advancement of education and national development. I would like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, for giving me the insight and germinating the idea of this 2 day international seminar. Sir has been very instrumental in igniting this thought-provoking topic on which we have assembled here to gather and to discuss, to deliberate, and to move forward the path towards Vikasit Bharat and achieving the aim by 2047. So the real genesis behind this is our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, who wanted that the accommodation from all across the nation, and not only from India but abroad also, focus on quality education and how education is not only for employment but for the entire life. Sir's instrumentality in bringing this seminar to culminate, I really thank you, sir. Education has always been very important for a progressive society and for a prosperous nation. The National Education Policy is a visionary reform that seeks to transform India's educational landscape by promoting holistic development, learning, innovation, critical thinking, research, inclusivity, and it aims to empower the learners not only to enhance their knowledge but also with enhancement of skill, values, character, which is required to thrive in the 21st century. So I hope that these 2 day seminar will be able to invoke that idea, that we are able to revisit and rethink that how we are going to shape the future, and how India has always been pride of a rich cultural heritage and been known as the golden bird and the highest seat of learning when we talk about Nalanda and Takshila. Let's revive it. Let's come to the ground and work for the betterment of our country and achieve the most important aspect to be a developed nation, and which is the requirement currently for our nation to be a developed nation. Our objective is not merely to discuss about the provision of policy, but to critically examine as to how its implementation, and to explore about the practices, identify the challenges, and generate constructive ideas that strengthen the educational institutions. The vision of Vikasit Bharat is founded upon an educational system that nurtures excellence, promotes equity, enhances technology, embraces us to be inspired towards the lifelong learning. NEP 2020 provides us a robust framework for achieving the vision by preparing the learners to become responsible citizens, critical leaders, and innovators capable of contributing meaningfully towards the national development. Today's seminar is not merely an academic gathering, it is a platform for intellectual exchange, meaningful dialogue, and collective reflection on how education can become the driving force behind India's transformation into the developed nation. I am confident that the valuable insights and thought-provoking discussions shared today will inspire each one of us to actively contribute to the successful realization of the aspirations envisioned in NEP 2020. May today's deliberation and the tomorrow's forthcoming deliberation inspire new ideas and reaffirm the shared commitment. And I urge all the participants to engage in wholeheartedly discussions, ask questions, share your ideas, challenges, assumptions, and learn from one another. The true success of this academic seminar is not merely attending it, but meaningfully contribute that leads to new insights and collective action. The 2 days international seminar will be a tool towards knowledge enhancement, offering plenary session, panel discussion, keynote address, having around more than dozen of illuminaries and galaxy of speakers, all from across the country and the international speakers even. We are thankful to the enthusiastic response of the participants participating in around more than 20 tracks and having various technical sessions on different themes. Once again, I extend heartfelt welcome to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, our esteemed chief guest, our guest of honor, and to all the respected dignitaries, faculty member, participants, students. I wish this seminar every success and hope it proves to be enriching, insightful, and truly memorable for everyone present. With these words, I once again extend my warm welcome to all our esteemed guests. Thank you, everyone. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, ma'am, for articulating the vision of this seminar so perfectly, highlighting about what all things we are going to see in 2 days international conference, right from technical sessions, plenary sessions, panel discussions, and much more. Thank you, ma'am. The National Education Policy 2020 emphasizes skill development, holistic learning, and industry alignment. It is my honor to introduce our distinguished guest of honor for today's conference, Shri Deepak Kumar Lalla sir, Chief Executive Officer of Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, Mumbai. A veteran of the Indian banking and financial sector, Sir brings with him nearly 4 decades of rich leadership experience spanning retail banking, wealth management, capital markets, and financial education. Prior to taking the helm at IIBF, Sir dedicated over 37 years to the State Bank of India Group in various key capacities, including leading SBI's wealth management business and serving as the Managing Director and CEO of SBI Cap Securities Limited. Today, as the CEO of IIBF, one of the premier institutes shaping professional banking education in India, Sir is driving digital transformation, industry academia collaboration, and skill enhancement for thousands of banking professionals all across the nation. Please join me in welcoming Shri Deepak Kumar Lalla sir at the podium. Please welcome sir.
Good morning, everybody. Chief guest of the today's function, Professor Amarpal Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University. Professor R.K. Mittal, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University. Dean and Professor Amit Kumar, Madam Taruna, convener of this seminar. All the faculty member, professor, scholars, participants, students. I am really happy and really feel privileged to be part of this seminar. I really find that much of gathering nowadays, on-site gathering. So I think it's a require one round of applause for all of you. I think it's a big gathering, on-site gathering right now is not a very easy task. I thank the convener of this program and also thank the Mr. Shukla who has invited me for this seminar. I think theme is very clear. The theme is about NEP 2020, National Education Policy for 2020, which was introduced by the government, and then afterward it is implementing. There are few things which were really transforming for this policy. This has talked about the Viksit Bharat. When we think of Viksit Bharat, when we completing the 100 years of our independence, there are basic two themes which were already been conveyed. One is about our GDP. At present, the GDP is ranging from a $4 trillion to $5 trillion, depending upon the value of the currency. and there is a vision of reaching to a level of $30 trillion US dollar when we complete our 100 years. This is the one theme. The second is earning per person. What is the per capita income at present? At present is roughly around 2,800 to 3,000 rupees US dollar. It has to reach to a level of 18,000 US dollar by 2047. So this is the theme about Viksit Bharat. And when we see what are the enablers required for that particular theme, one of the critical enabler is education. Education is being seen as a blood in the body. When we have all the resources available, capital is available, everything for any industry also, everything is available. But unless there is employees who are the basically a driving force, which is the blood of the organization, that is not properly trained, that is not actually fully available for that consuming that resources, I think this kind of growth is not possible. So education is a key enabler when we think of a Viksit Bharat, and there are certain changes which were introduced, and there were certain things which were conveyed in the education policy. One of the theme was the skilling. From academic literature and everything, it should be supplemented by the skilling of our workforce. So this is one theme which was introduced. The other was future ready. Since we are thinking of a future, we should be future ready. Whatever we have learned till now may become obsolete after some time. So we have to be always dynamic and see how we can make ourselves future ready. So a lot of things which we have seen in the past, I think today also there was a discussion going on that now the new law will come when the Evidence Act, Banking Evidence Act. You must have seen, many of you must have taken sometime a loan or opened account, you must have signed papers at the branches. And now it will be replaced by the digital signatures. Now loans are being granted digitally. So how do we change? So this kind of changes are coming which will totally eliminate the signatures also. No, totally. So new law is coming. So it's become so dynamic. Things which were working for the last 100 years, it will not be working for the future. So how to make ourselves future ready? What are the digital changes are coming? What are the cyber security or anything which is coming? Maybe data analytics is coming. So these are the new things which are coming in the future. Second is long-term learning. Whatever we have learned may not be relevant continuously for a further years. So we have to be continuously learn and unlearn also. Sometimes unlearning is also required. Something which we have learned will sometimes become a barrier for us to learn. So something is to be unlearned and something more to be learned. Then how to make ourselves industry ready. If whatever is required for the future industry, we are ready for the future ready. Then global competitiveness. Since world is now opening up, it is not limiting to the India only. We have been now trading with the most of the countries worldwide. So how to make ourselves globally ready? Because we have a power of, we are the country which has having a age advantage. We have a lowest income in terms of our age. So how can we increase our service industry? So these are the few things which has changed. And then from a bookish knowledge, now more of a experiential learning. You have to experience and then learn. It's not only from the bookish only, but also experience from the learning. Then critical thinking and employability. So these are the few things which has come in the National Education Policy 2020. There is a certain change which I have seen also from the academic point of view also. They have also changed. I have recently interacted with almost from IABF side, we have a tie-ups with almost 60 plus universities. And what I observed is there is a demand from the university side also, stating that we need now students who are interested in articleship, who are going for a apprenticeship, or those who are going for a internships also. So a lot of experiential learning is also required from those, and simultaneously they are looking towards those institutions which are actually giving them a skill training, which can actually give them employment afterwards. So a lot of courses run by even our education institutes are being offered, and it has been embedded in their own courses for the academic. Like I just give you a few examples. In our Institute of Banking and Finance, we are running a few of the flagship courses, which is JIB and CIB. Junior Institute of Indian Institute of Bankers and Chartered Institute of Indian Institute of Bankers. These are the two flagship courses we were offering till 2020. But after this new policy has come, there is a demand from the colleges also to why can't we have kind of start these kind of courses for our students also. So in the last 3-4 years, we have already done a tie-up with 60 plus colleges, wherein our GIB courses, which are basically covering 4 special subjects. One is Indian economy and financial system. Second is principle and practice of banking. Third is accounting and financial management. And fourth is rural banking and wealth management. These are the 4 particular subjects are being offered to the students itself when they are completing their graduation. And when they complete their graduation, along with that, they get a diploma in banking and finance from our university. And I'm happy to share, all those who are getting this kind of diploma, they are immediately be taken by the BFSI sector. And recent batch of almost 3,000 plus students completed this course. Almost everybody was immediately absorbed. Similarly, there was a demand from the NCVT, National Council for Vocational Training and Employment. So they have also demanded one course from us. So we have recently started a retail banking course, and in the first batch, which is started in the month of last July itself, almost 500 have participated. We opened a window only for 15 days just to experiment. Within 15 days, 500 people have participated, and then immediately they completed their course. It's a 120 hours online course, and I'm again happy to share all those who are actually got successful in this, all are getting absorbed immediately. There are a lot of takers from the market itself. So I'm just wanting to say that this kind of experiments are really going to give a very good result when we blend your academic along with the some programs. I think this is what is seen in the past, and which is very, very visible here also. And this, if you compare their CTC also, it is much better than the normal ground level staff which were being recruited. So this is the one success of this kind of initiatives. As a IAPF, we are going to add four more courses also. If you know, there is a one portal which is from the Ministry of Education, Swayam Plus. Anybody is aware of Swayam Plus? Yeah, so there also we are started showing our presence. 2 of our courses which are relating to the climate risk and sustainable banking and ethics in banking. So these are the courses which are live now, and we are going to add 4 more courses in the very soon. One of the course would be digital banking, second would be retail banking, risk management and wealth management, and there will be another few more courses will come, because the offtake is very good, and afterward the employability is also very good. So these are the few things which we are now making from the IABF side. I hope we will be able to make our participant industry ready, and it will be blend of your academic career along with the experiential learning, and simultaneously you will be learning what is actually required by the industries. So because we know from the banking side, which is at present is the biggest employer. If you see the overall employment in the industry, more than 1 crore are presently employed directly, and 1 crore plus are indirectly employed in the banking industry, because many of the industries also there is a one spoke who will be taking care of the banking related requirements. So we'll be covering all the banking aspect as well as the capital market aspect as well as the insurance aspect also. So all three are being blended now. We have also done many of the changes from our side, which will make it more useful for our participants. So I'll also thinking that in case you also wanting to join this, it's all online courses are available, and then fees is also not very high because we are an institute which are voluntary organization which will have all the bankers are our participant. So they are the consumers also. Once you complete your courses, immediately they have access to the list, and then they can take you directly to the job. So at present almost 600 plus institutions, financial institutions are our members, and in certification courses which were run by us, almost 50 plus certification courses, fees is only 1,200 rupees, the entire certification including the reading material, so entire course. And then other courses which are flagship courses like DBF or something, fees is roughly from 4,000 rupees to 6,000 rupees, and which we can cover in a 3 years time whenever you are completing your graduation. So this is what is our contribution to this new policy, and it is very, very successful. I believe the similar kind of tie-ups, I think you can think over it just to complete this objective. It's Our side is only covering the BFSI sector, but there are other opportunities also. There are a lot of ways we can think of where we can have a great synergy with the institutions. It can be academic institution, it can be a knowledge-based industry, it can be even direct industry also. You can go for a training of some of the industries which are big, and there are a lot of industry in IT as well as analytics. I think these are the few scopes which are coming in a big way. You can think of some experimental learning there. 2-3 months of training to those institutions, and afterward you can see the valuableness much better than what we have seen in the only when we complete through academic. So this is what is my feeling. I believe this 2 days conference will be very useful to you. I think a lot of new ideas will come, and those scholars and faculty members who are here, they will be sharing their own experience. I have shared my experience because working with the IABF, I have seen the success of those blended courses, and I have seen the really happy feeling when I saw this kind of courses are being taken up by the participant, the students particularly, and they have been very, very successful in the BSI, and the attrition rate is also very low to those participants when they are actually joining those institutions. So this is all from my side. Thank you much. I once again thank the university for inviting me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable perspectives about today's conference and also highlighting the benefits of Indian Institute of Banking Finance that students can take upon from them, the various types of certifications offered by them. Thank you, sir. Education is the foundation of national development, and legal and academic leadership plays a pivotal role in operationalizing the vision. It is my honor to introduce our chief guest, Professor Dr. Amarpal Singh sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, Lucknow. A renowned jurist and visionary academician, sir brings a remarkably rich and perspective to legal scholarship. Grounded in strong background in literature, sir holds dual LLM degrees and has dedicated decades to advancing legal education across India's top institutions, including GGSIP University, New Delhi, and NLU, Jodhpur. His expertise spans constitutional law, legal philosophy, and environmental law. Widely respected for his work on the moral foundation of constitutionalism and human rights, sir views the law not just as doctrine but as a living instrument for social justice and democratic equality. As a leader and mentor, he continues to shape the future of legal practice by instilling critical thinking and judicial ethics in the next generation of lawyers. Please welcome Dr. Amarpal Singh sir with huge round of applause.
Most respected Professor R.K. Mittal sir, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Bhim Rao Ambedkar University, Lucknow, Shri Deepak Kumar ji, CEO of Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, Professor Amit Kumar ji, the Dean of Management School, Professor Taruna ji, who is the convener of the conference, senior faculty colleagues, other learned faculty colleagues, invited guests, members, friends from the media, delegates of the conference, and student friends. We are talking about Vikasit Bharat, and this conference is supposed to really take a look at the new education policy, which shall be one of the methodologies for pursuing the dream of Vikasit Bharat. One thing that I, as a student of law, general student, think that, and we need to understand and appreciate this, that during the entire human history, one thing that we can always understand is that anything great that has happened in this world, in this entire human history, has been possible only by way of education. If India was supposed to be Vishwaguru at some point of time, it was because it has the best chain of universities providing best of learning opportunities across the globe. Today, living in Pax Americana, where America is the leader, undisputed leader, so to say, it is not because it has the largest army, the best defense technology, so and so forth, but because it has one of the best chain of universities. So therefore, one thing that we can be sure of is that unless we re-energize our university system, the dream of Vikasit Bharat is something that can happen only by way of university learning getting enhanced. Friends, Dr. Deepak ji talked about he articulated the idea of national education policy and tried to explain as to how he is, in banking and finance terms, preparing the next generation to be future ready for the changes. I look at the national education policy from a generalistic perspective. You look at, say, more than half a dozen education policies that we have seen during last 150 years or so, starting with 1882 Hunter Commission report, to Wood's dispatch in early 20th century, and then close to independence we had Radhakrishnan Commission. After independence also we had Kothari Commission, and then two national education policies we have seen. National Education Policy 2020, to my understanding, actually marks a shift, a paradigm shift from all other policies. There has been a lot of talk about it, but look at some of the fundamentals that it talks about. It doesn't talk about education simply as it talks about conceptual learning and experiential learning, but not only for the purpose of economic development or for the purpose of generating employment, but it talks about education as an instrument of human growth, of social harmony. I, being a law student, though those who have seen the education policy might recall chapter 18, which talks about that medical education and legal education is actually accepted from the operation of national education policy. Nevertheless, the legal vision as to how India is to become a Vikasit Bharat from legal perspective has also been talked about. National education policy talks about that India needs to develop into a democratic system which is inclusive, secular, and so forth. Several, those things that we already read in our preamble. All kinds of objectives, 6 objectives that we have under the preamble of Indian Constitution. The education policy talks about it. In fact, lot of elements that we have included in our directive principles and fundamental duties, for example, scientific learning, they actually form part of this national education policy. So that is one point that I intend to make. It does talk about holistic learning. Good or bad, during last 100 years or so, the learning has become learning in silos, specializations. So we barely looking, beyond our subject. This education policy talks about holistic learning. As a law student, I know and have been teaching in my law classes. The old thing that if you know law, only law, then you probably don't know law, because law operates in a certain context, a certain social environment. certain economic system. If you do not understand the context of law, you do not understand law as such. Now, this kind of a rationale applies to almost every subject. At least today, if we cannot identify the linkages of our subject with the rest of the knowledge domain, then probably we don't know our subject, or we don't appreciate our subject, don't understand our subject. Please understand it, it is not something new that I am talking about, but knowledge does not advance in those specializations. Knowledge advances fast at the confluence of subjects. Unless you understand those confluences, you cannot really advance the knowledge the way it should for the purpose of achieving this objective that we are talking of within next 20-25 years. Friends, flexibility of the curriculum is something that we have been talking about even before National Education Policy came into being. UGC was talking about those credit, choice-based credit systems, CBCS and all that. I keep on moving around universities and talking about what kind of curriculum we need to have and so forth. And I see very little effort on the part of the academic community going for these flexible systems that we are talking about. Some advances have been made, but obviously the amount of progress that we should have made by now in terms of making our curriculums better and flexible, that is really missing. So we as teachers, particularly from the academic community, will have to rethink our strategies in actually making our curriculum flexible. I keep on working from the law perspective, and as a law student I have been actually roaming around the country telling people how are we going to make it, though it is not, the education policy doesn't apply to legal education that way, but we are part of the entire system. Law also need to be prepared to understand the entirety of the context of educational process. So that is an area that we need to improve upon. Equity and inclusivity is something on which there is a huge amount of emphasis in the education policy. This is an area which is important from the discipline that I come from, because the entire emphasis of the legal process itself is justice, equity, good conscience, and so forth. And this is something that we have included in our constitution as well. So making our education inclusive is going to be a huge task, because the way we have been progressing in terms of increasing number of universities, increasing number of students. So I recall 2004-05 when this Knowledge Commission came, Sam Pitroda Commission. At that point of time, we had close to 350 plus universities, less than 400. It talked about that we will have to, within next 20-30 years, this number has to go at least 10 times more, 4,000 universities, something like that. Now we are planning that by 2047 we should have at least 4,000 universities, something. Right now it is less than 2,000, 1,800 is the number that I recall correctly. And out of this 1,800, we have less than 1/3 public universities. 600, less than 600 public universities, and rest of them are private universities. Now, private universities obviously, are operated on commercial lines. So, if you look at the courses, for example, I recall during some 30 years back, 35 years back, when, even in private colleges, I studied law in Symbiosis, Pune, and my fee was 120 rupees quarterly, 120 rupees. Now you think of, how much is the fee for law education. General, if you look around law schools across the country, private universities, or anything between 1,50,000 to 2 lakhs, 1,50,000 to 2 lakhs is the tuition fee per semester. You have other things to take care of, students' expense, living expenses, and books and other things. So just think about it. Standard average I'm talking about, standard legal education or legal course is available for a student for almost 6 lakhs rupees per annum. 5 years, 30 lakh rupees. This is minimum average, because there are law schools which charge almost 50 to 60 lakhs, over a period of 5 years. Is it this inclusivity we are talking of? There is no new way we are thinking in that sense of the term. So inclusivity and equity is something that is not inbuilt in this system. How do we do that? How do we, offering scholarships will not help us, because this obviously is, based upon those competitive things. So you have 10 scholarships, 1,000 students vying for it. How many get it? If 1,000 students are vying for a scholarship which is available only for 10 students, 990 students are left out. And there may be a lot of very sincere students amongst them. So this scholarship which is being offered as one of the panacea for inclusivity, I don't think there are, like banks, for example, provide loans for educational process, but only for graded institutions, National University, IIT, IIM. But if you take admission in Baba Saheb Ambedkar University, I don't know if the scholarship is available for that. So think about it. If you have taken admission in a private university which charges 6 lakhs per annum, how many banks are going to give you the loan? Think about it. So that is another area that we need to take care of. Synergies and interdisciplinarity is something that we are talking of, but I see everywhere. I don't have to talk about one university. If you talk in terms of multi-faculty universities, I don't see the people from one department talking to the other. Within the department, people don't talk with each other. So that is the kind of a system we have built in the university. How do we build these synergies? These are the fundamental questions that we have to address. I mean, this might appear very funny, but it is very important, friends. And the last point, there are a lot of things that I can keep on talking about, like you, senior faculty colleagues. I am also a teacher and have been delivering 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour lectures consistently, so I can keep on talking about. But the last point I would like to make, which is very important, and I'll tell you a small story as well before I make that point. आपने मुल्ला नसरुद्दीन की बहुत कहानियां सुनी. He is a funny character and philosophical. तो मुल्ला नसरुद्दीन की शादी हुई और वो अब पत्नी को घुमाने के लिए एक नाव में, किसी सरोवर में नाव में लेके गए, घुमाने के लिए ले गए उनको. अब वो ऐसा हुआ कि बहुत तेज हवा चलने लगी और वो नाव ऐसे ऐसे हिलने लगी. तो उनकी जो पत्नी थी वो डर गई. अरे तो वो अशांति से बैठे, तो उनको लगा कि कहीं कोई नींद तो नहीं आ गई, इनको कोई और बात तो नहीं है, कि उनकी प्रकृति से वो परिचित भी रही होंगी जब शादी करी थी. तो उन्होंने कहा कि उनको हिलाया कि हम नाव इतनी जोर से हिल रही है, हम डूब सकते हैं, आप कुछ कर नहीं रहे हैं. फिर भी वो शांत बैठे. ही इज़ नॉट बजिंग. 1-2 बार उन्होंने जोर जोर से हिलाया, चिल्लाई उनके ऊपर, वो शांत बैठे, एकदम आँख बंद कर, जैसे किसी ध्यान मग्न मुद्रा में बैठे हुए. थोड़ी देर बाद गॉड्स ग्रेस वो नाव डूबी नहीं और वो किनारे पर आ गए, वो आ गए. तो उन्होंने कहा कि आप ठीक तो हैं, मैं इतनी चिल्लाई, इतनी बार आपको हिलाया, आपने रिएक्ट ही नहीं किया. तो मुल्ला नसरुद्दीन के पास वो होता है कई बार ना, छोटा मोटा तलवार जैसे कटार रखते हैं, उनके पास भी कुछ ऐसा था. तो उन्होंने जल्दी से कटार निकाली और अपनी पत्नी के गले पर रख दी. अब वो उनकी पत्नी, डरने का तो जैसा कोई मुद्दा था नहीं, वो अचानक देखी हो क्या गया इस पर, ये कर क्या रहा है, ये क्या ड्रामा है. तो वो जब गले पर उसके वो कटार रखी तो वो देख रही है कि क्या कर रहे हैं आप, क्या बेवकूफ़ी है ये। तो बोली कि तुमको लगता है कि मैं तुम्हें मार सकता हूँ? बोले कि नहीं, मुझे बिल्कुल नहीं लगता, क्योंकि जो व्यक्ति मुझे इतना प्यार करता है मुझे मार कैसे सकता है, इसलिए डरने की कोई बात ही नहीं है। तो मुल्ला नसरुद्दीन ने कहा कि अरे यही तो मैं कह रहा हूं, जिस मालिक ने मुझे पैदा किया है, जो मुझे देख रहा है, वो ऐसे कैसे डुबो देगा मुझे। लुक एट द इंटेंस faith that he had in that Almighty. Friends, in today's democratic governance system, I don't have to get back into the evolution of democratic process from direct democracy to representative democracy and so on and so forth. That is not something that I shall be talking about right now because the time would not permit me. But the modern democratic systems survive on institutional resilience. From where this institutional resilience comes? It comes from the trust and faith that we commons invest in those institutions. And I intend to ask this question, articulate this question. I'm not answering these questions, but I just intend to articulate this question. Are we investing trust and faith in our institutions? Or weakening them all the time by raising questions to vital institutions that support and sustain democratic system? Are we really investing our trust and faith? Just think about 100 years back when we were fighting a battle for our own political freedom. During those days, just think about those people. At that point of time, there was no, that the idea of those institutions was not there at that point of time. बस उनके पास एक भाव था, एक ऐसा विश्वास था, वो भारत माता कहिए, कुछ और कहिए, कि यदि हम इसको किसी तरीके से फ्रीडम दिला सके तो हम एक अच्छा स्वस्थ जीवन अपनी नेक्स्ट जनरेशन के लिए एंश्योर कर सकते हैं। जितना विश्वास उन लोगों को भारत की प्रकृति, भारत के भविष्य के ऊपर था, क्या उतना विश्वास आज हमें अपने डेमोक्रेटिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस पर है? These are the questions I am leaving. Please look into it when you brainstorm as to the journey towards Vikasit Bharat during this Amrit Kal in which we are supposed to have entered. Just think about it, how much we are investing in our institutions in terms of our faith and trust. In fact, the tragedy of today is not tragedy of lack of resources, lack of anything for that purpose. It is the crisis of trust and faith. Trust and faith amongst colleagues, trust and faith in the society, trust and faith, in the institutions, trust and faith as to the future of this country. Are we really having that, that kind of a mindset to invest our trust and faith in the institutions of democratic process? If we are able to do that, I am confident nobody can stop us from becoming what we are today calling Vikasit Bharat. I have not actually given you a lot of answers, but articulated certain questions, and hope that these questions shall be looked into, shall be brainstormed during next 2 days. I take this opportunity to put on record my sincere gratitude and thanks to the organizers of this conference who invited me and permitted me to share some of my thought process with you, and also wish all the very best for all the participants. May this opportunity bring out the best in you. Thank you so much for a very patient listening.
Thank you so much to our chief guest, Professor Dr. Amar Pal Singh sir, for profound thoughts and inspiring address. Now it is my distinct honor to introduce our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar Mittal sir, an eminent academician and visionary leader with over 35 years of rich experience. Sir has spearheaded academic excellence across multiple institutes including Indraprastha University and CBLU, a distinguished scholar with over 120 research papers, Sir is a passionate champion of NEP 2020 skill development and multidisciplinary research. Please welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor with huge round of applause.
मौसम, धन्यवाद मौसम जी। विश्वविद्यालय के मैनेजमेंट विभाग द्वारा आयोजित 2 दिवसीय इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार में आज के मुख्य अतिथि माननीय प्रोफेसर अमरपाल सिंह जी, वाइस चांसलर डॉक्टर राम मनोहर लोहिया, नेशनल लॉ यूनिवर्सिटी लखनऊ। हमारे इस कार्यक्रम के विशिष्ट अतिथि श्री दीपक कुमार लाला जी, CEO इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ बैंकिंग एंड फाइनेंस मुंबई, डीन प्रोफेसर अमित कुमार सिंह जी, प्रोफेसर तरुणा और इस सभागार में उपस्थित सभी विश्वविद्यालय के सहयोगियों, बाहर से आए सभी अतिथिगण, शोधार्थी, प्यारे विद्यार्थियों, आप सबका इस 2 दिवसीय सेमिनार में हार्दिक अभिनंदन, स्वागत। और विभाग को मैं बधाई देता हूं कि एक वेल डिज़ाइंड इस सेमिनार का एक प्लान किया गया और जैसे कि बताया, इसमें पार्टिसिपेशन भी बहुत लोगों का इंश्योर हुआ और जो आगे के सत्र होंगे उनकी योजना भी बड़े अच्छे तरीके से रखी गई। NEP 2020 के बारे में अभी पूर्व वक्ताओं ने बहुत अच्छे तरीके से हम सबके समक्ष अपनी बात रखी। मैं इसमें ज़्यादा ना बोलते हुए यही कहूँगा कि इस 2 दिवसीय सेमिनार का मुख्य उद्देश्य यही है कि किस तरीके से राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति एक विकसित भारत को खड़ा करने में सहयोगी हो सकती है। और जैसे कि बताया कि शिक्षा किसी देश में सामाजिक आर्थिक परिवर्तन करने का आधार बनती है। शिक्षा के माध्यम से ही ये सब परिवर्तन संभव हैं। और जब हम शिक्षा की बात करते हैं तो उसका 3 चीज़ों के ऊपर, 3 या 4 चीज़ों के ऊपर मुख्य रूप से हम बात करते हैं। शिक्षा का उद्देश्य है कि हमारा ज्ञान बढ़े, नोइंग। शिक्षा का उद्देश्य है कि हमें स्किल फॉर्मेशन हो, डूइंग। शिक्षा का उद्देश्य है बीइंग, कि हम अपने आप को पहचाने, मैं कैसा हूँ। और शिक्षा ये भी बताती है कि वो समाज के अंदर किस तरीके से हम मिलजुल कर एडजस्टमेंट करके रहें, सहयोग करें, हारमोनियसली लिव टुगेदर। ये 3-4 चीज़ें शिक्षा के अंदर हम मुख्य रूप से देखते हैं। जो हमारी 2020 से पहले नीतियां थी उनमें कोई कमी ऐसा तो नहीं है, मगर उनको एक समग्रता से नहीं देखा जा सकता। ये जो शिक्षा नीति है ये एक सम से KG to PG एक समग्रता से देखती है, 5+3+3+4 और इंटरलिंक्ड है सारी की सारी शिक्षा। ये शिक्षा नीति मातृभाषा में ज्ञान को शुरू में, एटलीस्ट इन द बिगिनिंग, मातृभाषा में शिक्षा को ग्रहण करने पर बल देती है। क्योंकि हम सब जानते हैं कि जो शुरू की एज होती है उसमें जब तक बच्चे को उसकी मातृभाषा में ज्ञान ना दिया जाए वो इतनी जल्दी से ग्रहण नहीं करता। ये शिक्षा नीति ये बताती है कि उसकी बच्चे की जो फाउंडेशन है वो स्ट्रॉन्ग होनी चाहिए। वो किताबों के बोझ में, बस्ते के बोझ में ना रहे, बल्कि अपने पूरे मानसिक विकास को बढ़ावा दे।
ये शिक्षा नीति बताती है कि हमें वोकेशनल एजुकेशन को प्रमोट करना है, वोकेशनल एजुकेशन को मेन स्ट्रीम के साथ एजुकेशन का हिस्सा बनाना है। जितने भी कंट्री हैं, जर्मन को देखें, साउथ कोरिया को देखें, जापान को देखें, इवन यूएसए में, इन सब में वोकेशनल एजुकेशन का जो प्रतिशत है वो कम से कम भी, साउथ कोरिया में तो मेरे ख्याल में 90 से भी ऊपर प्रतिशत है, और हमारे यहाँ ये प्रतिशत 5-6% ही होगा फॉर्मल, बहुत कम है। वोकेशनल एजुकेशन को हम थोड़ा सा नेगेटिव में देखते हैं। तो इसको कैसे वोकेशनल एजुकेशन को मेन स्ट्रीम की एजुकेशन है उसके साथ जोड़ें ताकि ज्ञान व्यवहारिक हो और उनके रोजगार लेने में मददगार हो। तो इस तरीके से ये जो शिक्षा है, शिक्षा नीति, राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति, ये ज़्यादा व्यवहारिक है। रॉट लर्निंग की बजाय ये प्रैक्टिकल और एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग की बात करती है, इंटर्नशिप की बात करती है, यूनिवर्सिटी इंडस्ट्री लिंकेजेस की बात करती है, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की बात करती है, लिंकेजेस विद द सराउंडिंग की बात करती है, फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी की बात करती है, स्टूडेंट सेंट्रिक एजुकेशन की बात करती है, इंटीग्रेशन विद टेक्नोलॉजी की बात करती है, रिसर्च विद पर्पज विच हैव सम वैल्यू टू सोशल वैल्यू एडिशन और इकोनॉमिक वैल्यू एडिशन, ऐसी रिसर्च जिसका कोई सामाजिक और आर्थिक दृष्टि से कोई लाभ हो, मात्र रिसर्च ना हो, इसकी ये बात करती है। तो ये राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के बहुत सारे करैक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं जो पहले की नीतियों में नहीं थे। इसके साथ साथ ये शिक्षा नीति इंस्टीट्यूशंस को कैसे रन किया जाए उसके गवर्नेंस के बारे में भी बात करती है। ये बात करती है कि क्या कुरिकुलम कैसा होगा, उसका इवैल्यूएशन कैसा होगा, एग्ज़ाम कैसे होंगे, इन सब के बारे में एक बड़ा कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव व्यू प्रस्तुत करती है राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति 2020। और यूजीसी के अंतर्गत, यूजीसी के अंदर, बीइंग द मेंबर ऑफ द यूजीसी, हमने इसके ऊपर बहुत सारे कदम उठाए एंड यूजीसी हैज़ टेकन सीरीज ऑफ स्टेप्स टू इम्प्लीमेंट एनईपी इन द लास्ट 2-3 years। फ्रेमवर्क एक तैयार है, फ्रेमवर्क इज देयर, हाउ टू इम्प्लीमेंट इट, whether it has been fully implemented or not, this is a questionable thing, lot of problems and difficulties are there। साथियों, जब हम विकसित भारत की बात करते हैं तो जैसे दीपक जी ने बताया कि इसका अर्थ है कि कम से कम हम इंडिया की इकोनॉमी को 30-40 ट्रिलियन डॉलर इकोनॉमी 2047 तक की बात करते हैं, और 18,000 या उससे कम 16, 17, 12 जो भी है नंबर पर कैपिटा इनकम डॉलर में करते हैं। ये एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। लगभग 10 गुना एक सम से अभी जितनी है हमारी, उससे बड़ा 10 गुना इसके साइज को मल्टीप्लाई करना है, विच इज़ ए ग्रेट टास्क टू बी डन। अब इसके लिए क्या चाहिए? इसके लिए वर्कफोर्स चाहिए, और इसका अपने पास जो क्या साधन है वो सबसे बड़ा है कि हमारी जो डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड हमारे पास है, जो 30-40 करोड़ युवा हमारे पास हैं, उनको कैसे हम सदुपयोग करें, उनको कैसे ट्रेंड करें, उनको कैसे एजुकेट करें, उनको कैसे हेल्दी करें, ये है, और उनको कैसे स्किल्ड किया जाए और कैसे उनको एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी को बढ़ाया जाए, ये एक बड़ा चैलेंज है। इस चीज़ को राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति में ध्यान, या इसके जो प्रोविज़न हैं वो इनको आगे कर सकते हैं। जैसे आप कहें कि जो विकसित भारत के लिए मुख्य रूप से अभी चाहिए इनोवेशन, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, ये 2 मुख्य बातें हैं। हमारा माइंडसेट इनोवेटिव होना चाहिए इस कॉम्पिटिटिव वर्ल्ड में, और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप। अभी आज के दिन हमारी जो टेंडेंसी यूथ की है, जनरल टेंडेंसी, दैट इज़ a job seeking behavior. Everyone wants job. Job means government job. But there is a limit to create jobs. There is a limit to create jobs. But through entrepreneurship, unlimited opportunities can be created. So therefore, this policy also focuses on how this entrepreneurial spirit can be inculcated within the youth. इसलिए ये स्टार्टअप और इस सारे कल्चर को बढ़ावा देती है. आप जितने भी गवर्नमेंट के आप स्टेप्स देखेंगे, प्लानिंग कमीशन, नीति आयोग के बात करेंगे, इंडिया के जो स्टार्टअप मिशन या और जितने भी हैं वो इसको प्रमोट करते हैं. गवर्नमेंट के जैसे यूपी के अंदर भी सीएम युवा वो है मिशन, नहीं क्या है डॉक्टर साहब, सीएम युवा एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के लिए, हाँ हाँ ऐसी योजना है वो. ये सारी की सारी इसका पर्पज़ यही है कि एवरीवन नाउ वांट्स दैट फोकस शुड बी शिफ्टेड फ्रॉम जॉब सीकिंग बिहेवियर टू जॉब क्रिएटिंग बिहेवियर, जो अभी तक एजुकेशन में नहीं. एजुकेशन में क्या है, एजुकेशन में हम बिल्कुल रटा रटाई बात पे करते थे, एक्सपीरियंशियल लर्निंग होती नहीं थी और बच्चे का मार्क्स के ऊपर ज़्यादा ध्यान दिया जाता है, पेरेंट्स भी उसकी तरफ नहीं ज़्यादा फोकस करते थे. तो एक हमारे अंदर एक डर सा बैठा हुआ है कि पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा, बिजनेस करेंगे तो मरेंगे बाद में, पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा. इसको निकालना बाहर. और एंटरप्रेन्योर जो होता है वो रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी उसकी बहुत होती है, उसकी ऑर्गेनाइजिंग एबिलिटी बहुत ज़्यादा होती है, उसकी इनोवेटिव एबिलिटीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा होती है. इन सब चीज़ों को प्रमोट करना एजुकेशन में ये राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के अंदर दिया गया है. अब कोई कितना कर रहा है वो अलग बात है. हमारे यहाँ भी बाबा साहब भीमराव अंबेडकर विश्वविद्यालय में भी हमने नवकल्पना के नाम से एक सेक्शन 8 कंपनी बना के उसके माध्यम से एक प्लेटफॉर्म खड़ा किया और उसके अंतर्गत बहुत सारे 25-30 कुछ ऐसे इनिशिएटिव शुरू हुए जिसके अंतर्गत बच्चों ने अपना अपना आइडिया सामने रखा और उसके बारे में बच्चों को हमने सेंसिटाइज भी किया डिफरेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स में जाकर. तो वी आर हेल्पिंग देम आउट. जो हम कर रहे हैं हमारे से कई लोग इससे भी ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं और इसके कारण आज एक देश के अंदर एक वातावरण भी बना है कि एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को बढ़ावा दिया जाए, बच्चों को सपोर्ट किया जाए और युवा शक्ति में भी एक भावना भी जागी है. अब आप देख रहे हो जितने भी ये छोटे इकाइयाँ खड़ी हो रही हैं, यूनिट खड़े हो रहे हैं, IIT से, IIM से, छोटे इंस्टीट्यूशन से, गांवों से, शहरों से बड़ी मात्रा में यूथ बाहर आ रहा है और इसकी तरफ एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की तरफ जा रहा है. So this is how this NEP 2020 can be instrumental in fostering the culture of innovation, entrepreneurship in the country, which is the much needed requirement for a विकसित भारत. दूसरा जो विकसित भारत का अर्थ केवल हम कहें कि हम इकोनॉमिक दृष्टि से, आर्थिक दृष्टि से इकोनॉमिकली वी आर एट द नंबर 1 एंड इट विल ऑटोमेटिकली सॉल्व आवर प्रॉब्लम, और ऐसा कंट्री जिसमें मतलब जो पर्यावरण का नुकसान करता हो, जो जैसे हम लड़ाइयाँ झगड़े देख रहे हैं ऊपर USA में हो रहा है, इधर हो रहा है, इजराइल में हो रहा है, ऐसा कंट्री भारत हम नहीं चाहते. हम अपनी जो ट्रेडिशनल जो वैल्यूज़ हैं जिनके ऊपर विश्व गुरु था, जिसके लिए आज हमें गर्व है, उन फाउंडेशनल अहिंसा, एक दूसरे की मदद करना, पर्यावरण की रक्षा करना, साधनों का सदुपयोग करना, ये जो हमारी फैमिली सिस्टम को इंटैक्ट रखना, इसको बचाना, हेल्प करना और हमारा अध्यात्म के ऊपर जोर रहा, इन चीज़ों को भी अपने बेस में रखते हुए आगे बढ़ना, ये हमारी पहचान रही है. ये तभी हम विश्व गुरु इन शक्तियों के कारण रहे. तो जब ये शिक्षा नीति है, ये इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम की बात करती है, भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा की बात करती है कि भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को बचाए रखना है और उसको बचाकर अपनी जो एजुकेशन सिस्टम है उसके साथ इंटीग्रेट करना है, ताकि विद्यार्थियों में जो अपनापन है अपने जो भारतीय रिच कल्चर हेरिटेज उसको भी संवर्धन और उसका रखाव रखना है, उसके लिए भी ये जरूरी भी है विकसित भारत के लिए। और राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति IPS के माध्यम से इसको करती है, चाहे UGC हो, मिनिस्ट्री हो, AICT हो, हर विश्वविद्यालय में कोई ना कोई अब IKS का एक सेंटर खुला हुआ है और उसका प्रयोग भी हो रहा है। योगा, नेचुरोपैथी, आयुर्वेद और जितना जो ट्रेडिशनल रिच नॉलेज था उसको रिसर्च करके कैसे आज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जनोपयोगी आम आदमी के बेनिफिट के लिए उसको किया जाए, दिस इज द लार्जर ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ IKS विच दिस NEP 2020 फोकसेस अपॉन। तो ये भी है। तीसरा जो मेन किसी भी कंट्री के लिए विकसित बनना हो या जो किसी भी कंट्री का आप हिस्ट्री देखेंगे तो उसका बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी का रहा है। नो कंट्री कैन प्रोग्रेस विदाउट द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी। साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी प्लेज ए वेरी वाइटल रोल इन द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ एनी कंट्री। USA, जर्मन, जापान, साउथ कोरिया, चाइना, किसी को भी देख ले आप, इसके बिना कुछ होता नहीं। और इसके लिए चाहिए रिसर्च कल्चर, इसके लिए चाहिए R&D के ऊपर एक्सपेंडिचर। हमारे यहाँ R&D के एक्सपेंडिचर बहुत कम है, 0.7% ऑफ द GDP, यानी लेस देन 1%। और जो बाहर के कंट्री हैं जैसे इजराइल वगैरह को भी देखें, इनका तो 4.5%, 3-4% है, हमारा बहुत कम है। और जो है वो भी गवर्नमेंट सपोर्टेड लैब्स का है, पब्लिक लेबोरेटरी का है। प्राइवेट सेक्टर कंट्रीब्यूशन इज मिनिमल, सो दैट इज लैकिंग। और आज के इस कॉम्पिटिटिव वर्ल्ड में आप सोचिए कि आज बिना R&D किए कोई प्रोडक्ट आपका सफल हो जाएगा? नहीं होगा। ये IBM हो या आप ये गूगल हो, ये कितनी R&D करते हैं। लॉट ऑफ R&D इज डन बाय दीज कंपनी, स्मॉल कंपनी। R&D के माध्यम से हम बहुत बड़ा काम कर सकते हैं। हमारे यहाँ ये R&D का कल्चर समहाउ इज मिसिंग। So how to improve this R&D culture, that is the main objective. इसमें नेशनल रिकंस्ट्रक्शन फंड NRF, जिसका ANRF नाम दिया इस NEP के अंदर, उसको खड़ा किया गवर्नमेंट से एक कॉम्पिटिटिव बिडिंग के थ्रू एक कटिंग एज टेक्नोलॉजी को, चाहे वो ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन हो, इलेक्ट्रिकल व्हीकल हो, सोलर एनर्जी हो, फ्यूजन, whatever latest technology, supercomputing, etc. In all these areas, government through this fund is creating the environment for a competitive research projects, and this is going to help the country in the time to come. So therefore, NEP 2020 has been able to develop, or it intends to develop a good R&D system, culture, ecosystem, and universities can definitely help in this context. And जो हम कहें कि रिसर्च का जो एजेंडा है वो हमारा पर्पज केवल डिग्री का ना होके हाउ वी आर एबल टू हैंडल द लोकल प्रॉब्लम्स। जैसे हम कहते हैं आत्मनिर्भर भारत, विकसित, बी वोकल फॉर लोकल, ये जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने दिया, ये कैसे होगा हल? ये तभी होगा जब हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशन, रिसर्च लेबोरेटरी जो आसपास की जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको समझेंगे, हमारे रिसर्च स्कॉलर उनको समझेंगे, उन प्रॉब्लम्स के ऊपर काम करेंगे। इनके लिए जो NEP में बात करते हैं, प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग एबिलिटीज़ को डेवलप करना पड़ेगा, एनालिटिकल थिंकिंग को डेवलप करना पड़ेगा लोगों की, बच्चों की। तो इसके ऊपर NEP का पूरा फोकस है। तो ये भी एक इसमें बड़ा, इसी तरीके से जो विकसित भारत तब तक नहीं होगा जब तक विकास समावेशी नहीं होगा, इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट, विच मीन्स ईच एंड एवरी सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी मस्ट गेट एम्पल अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ टू पार्टिसिपेट इन द डेवलपमेंटल प्रोसेस। अब उसके लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? उसके लिए लोगों को स्किल करना पड़ेगा, उनको जिनको जो हायर एजुकेशन में या एजुकेशन के एरिया में जो बैरियर आते हैं उनके लिए, उन बैरियर को रिमूव करना पड़ेगा। इसके ऊपर भी जो NEP 2020 है वो फोकस करती है। मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव इज टू हाउ टू इंक्रीज दिस GR रेशो, how to improve vocational education, how to improve online education. All these steps have been taken under NEP 2020. अब इसको कैसे implement करें, this is the real challenge. The real challenge is how to implement. अब इसका different states में कई जगह देखते हैं, कर्नाटका ने शुरू में नहीं किया था, वेस्ट बंगाल में शुरू में नहीं किया था, केरला में शुरू में नहीं किया था. Because of political ideological reasons, some states have not yet implemented NEP 2020. This is one major hurdle. Second, जो इसकी success, it hinges upon the capacity building program for the faculty. Faculty को, student को, इन सबको stakeholder जो भी involved हैं, जब तक इसकी philosophy को change की नहीं समझेंगे तब तक इसको implement करना बड़ा मुश्किल होगा. हालांकि गवर्नमेंट ने, UGC ने और मिनिस्ट्री ने लॉट ऑफ sensitization program, seminar, research project have been sanctioned, granted, and every day there is a discussion on the NEP, but still lot needs to be done as far as this capacity building program is concerned. हम अपने यहाँ पर भी देखते हैं, सब जगह देखते हैं कि इसके रास्ते में कितनी बाधाएं इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने में डे टू डे बेसिस पे आती हैं. तो इसको कैसे, इस चैलेंज को हम करें, रिसोर्स की भी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं और फैकल्टी की रिक्रूटमेंट, नई फैकल्टी कैसे आए, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ चैलेंजेस. और मुझे अपना पर्सनली लगता है, जब मैं देखता हूँ 100% तो ये कभी एकदम से हो गया. कोई कह देते हैं लोग, बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं कि ये हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी इज़ द फर्स्ट वन विच हैज़ 100% इम्प्लीमेंटेड. दिस इज़ आई बिलीव दिस इज़ अ फॉल्स नोशन. बिल्कुल ये हो ही नहीं सकती 100% कोई कहे. इट इज़ एन इवॉल्विंग प्रोसेस, ग्रेजुअल प्रोसेस, जिसको हमें अपनी कैपेसिटी को बढ़ाना है और इसको धीरे धीरे अंडरस्टैंड करके इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करते जाना है. तो इसको मैं तो सबसे यही कहूँगा कि पॉलिसीज़ की जो असेंशियल चीज़ें हैं उनको आप हर हम सबको समझना चाहिए और इसको समझने के साथ साथ अपनी कैपेसिटी बढ़ानी चाहिए, अंडरस्टैंडिंग बढ़ा के फिर इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए प्रयत्न करने चाहिए. बहुत सारी चीज़ें हमारे बस में नहीं है, बहुत सारी चीज़ें, कोई कहेगा टीचर नहीं है, कोई कहेगा ये नहीं है, कोई कहेगा वो नहीं है. ऐसे ऐसे करोगे तो फुल स्टॉप वहीं लग जाएगा, कुछ नहीं होगा. मगर हमारे पास बहुत कुछ एग्जिस्टिंग सिस्टम में है जिसके बेस पे 60 to 70% ऑफ द प्रोविजंस ऑफ NEP कैन बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड वेरी इजीली. नेशनल फ्रेमवर्क हैज़ बीन गिवन बाय द UGC. So framework is there, but there is a requirement of will to introduce within the system without waiting much. तो इसके ऊपर हम सबको मिलकर काम करने की ज़रूरत है. बहुत सारे रिसोर्सेज और ये आते रहेंगे, मगर लेट अस वर्क टुगेदर टू हेल्प द कंट्री रीच इट्स विजन ऑफ विकसित भारत बाई 2047. I am very sure that these 2 days deliberation shall help us understanding the different ideas how it can be done. So my best wishes to all, and thank you for all our dignitaries who have spared their valuable time to grace this occasion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Vice Chancellor, for your inspiring words and invaluable wisdom. Your visionary guidance constantly motivates us to strive for academic and personal excellence as well. Today, we gather to mark a significant milestone in our journey towards nation building and economic self-reliance. It is an honor to welcome you all at the official book launch of Swadeshi Entrepreneurship, a step towards a self-reliant Bharat. Books are not merely collections of knowledge, they are catalysts for ideas, innovation, and nation building. This timely volume explores the philosophy of Swadeshi entrepreneurship and its relevance in shaping a resilient, innovative, and self reliant India in the era of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Viksit Bharat 2047. The book presents a comprehensive perspective of Swadeshi entrepreneurship by tracing its historical evolution from the freedom movement to its contemporary relevance in the age of globalization, digital transformation, and artificial intelligence. It brings together conceptual discussions, policy perspectives, and inspiring case studies that demonstrate how indigenous resources, local innovation, community participation, and sustainable business practices can become powerful drivers of inclusive national development. This important publication has been edited by three distinguished academicians and thought leaders: Professor Rajkumar Mittal sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor BBAU Lucknow; Professor Sunita Bhartwal ma'am, Dean Academic Affairs, Dean School of Management and Commerce, Chaudhry Bansi Lal University, Bhiwani, Haryana; Dr. Lata Bajpayee Singh ma'am, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट स्टडीज BBAU लखनऊ। जोरदार तालियां बजती रहें।
ये जो किताब है प्रोफेसर सुनीता भरतवाल चौधरी बंसीलाल विश्वविद्यालय में डीन है मैनेजमेंट में। अच्छा, नमस्कार मैडम।
नमस्ते सर।
नमस्कार नमस्कार। Professor Sunita Bhartwal, Madam, she is Dean, Academic Affairs and Dean, Faculty of Management Study at Chaudhry Bansi Lal University in Bhiwani, where I was Vice Chancellor for 2 terms. So, we work together on promoting this idea of Swadeshi entrepreneurship and be vocal, local, etc. Atmanirbhar Bharat for almost 3-4 years, and have been able to develop ecosystem there, organize so many activities related to women empowerment especially, and she was very active. So, and Lata Bajpayee ji. So these are the two main writers of this book. I may be the motivator only, and my job is to motivate for Swadeshi. That I am doing. ठीक है, स्वदेशी को जितना ज़्यादा अपनाएंगे उतना भारतवर्ष का विकास होगा, ये हमारी फिलॉसफी है। स्वदेशी जरूरी है। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू मैडम।
Thank you, sir. Sir, thanks a lot for such kind words, and you are a true inspiration to many of us. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I also invite Dr. Lata Bajpayee Singh ma'am on the stage. I invite Professor Sunita Bhartwal ma'am. Ma'am, please share your few words of wisdom on this official book launch on Swadeshi entrepreneurship, a step towards a self-reliant Bharat.
Mainly the convener, Professor Karuna, and her team, and Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Rajkumar Mittal ji, who is a mentor to many of us like me, the Honorable Chief Guest of this event, and all the other distinguished guests, and the faculty of this university, and the delegates who have come from far-off places to participate in this seminar. It's my privilege, in fact, to be here online, although I wanted to be there in person, but due to some problems, due to some health issues, I'm not able to. But as sir has already spoken so much, I believe in only one thing, that ordinary people can also make extraordinary enterprises by means of understanding the local problems and giving it a shape through the resources available there. This is, I tell you from my heart, keeping my hand on my heart, we had work here in this small town of Bhiwani, taking the examples from various rural backgrounds. This book, which has been written by Dr. Lata Bajpayee and me, we had compiled all these chapters, the research contributions made by different people, and the true case studies. So I believe for every page when it is going to be flipped down, you will be having an experience of the true people who had been there contributing to Swadeshi Bharat, and definitely with these small little efforts, we are definitely going to attain the Viksit Bharat 2047. So very good wishes and best of luck to all the delegates to participate here. And thank you, sir, and thank you, the team, for giving me this opportunity. I congratulate each one of you for this event. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to highlight that there are total 16 chapters in the book, out of which 8 are the scholarly articles and 8 are case studies. This book is more than a publication. It is an invitation to rethink entrepreneurship through the lens of India's own civilizational wisdom, demonstrating how local innovation, indigenous knowledge, and community enterprise can contribute to building a self-reliant and globally competitive Bharat. I once again congratulate on the official launch of the book Swadeshi Entrepreneurship. एक बार जोरदार तालियां हो जाए. Now, to express our deepest respect and appreciation, we move forward for the special moment of felicitation to our honorable dignitaries. I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to felicitate our Chief Guest, Professor Amarpal Singh Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, Lucknow. Felicitation with a shawl and a memento signifying Bodhi Vriksha. I request her to felicitate our guest of honor, Shri Deepak Kumar Sir, CEO, Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, Mumbai. Now I request Professor Taruna ma'am to felicitate. I request dignitaries to gather for a group photograph. Gratitude is the sweetest expression of an open heart. To express formal gratitude to everyone who made this inaugural session possible, I invite Professor Amit Kumar Singh Sir, Dean School of Management and Commerce, BBAU, to propose the vote of thanks. Sir.
थैंक यू मौसम. ये MBA का स्टूडेंट है लेकिन अच्छा बोलता है. एक बार इनके लिए तालियां लगा देना जरूर. हाँ जी सर. विश्वविद्यालय के परम आदरणीय कुलपति और हम सभी के मार्गदर्शक प्रोफेसर राजकुमार मित्तल सर, प्रोफेसर Amarpal Singh sir, honorable chief guest of this 2-day seminar, Sri दीपक कुमार सर, एंड मेरे प्यारे बच्चों, आज इस अवसर पर हम आप सभी यहाँ पधारे, इसके लिए मैं बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ. सबसे पहले मैं अपने परम आदरणीय कुलपति जी, जो न केवल NEP के कंट्रीब्यूशन में जिनका योगदान है, बल्कि इसको इस विश्वविद्यालय में बाबा साहब भीमराव अंबेडकर जी के सपनों के अनुरूप कैसे लागू किया जाए,
और देश में इसका देश के विकसित भारत बनने में हमारे विश्वविद्यालय का क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन हो, उसके लिए सर जितनी मेहनत से लगे हुए हैं, क्योंकि सर एक एक डिपार्टमेंट की इंटर्नशिप, किस डिपार्टमेंट में बच्चे कहाँ इंटर्नशिप कर रहे हैं, कितने इंटर्नशिप कर रहे हैं और रियल इंटर्नशिप कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे हैं, उस पर सर जो है पर्सनली मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं। तो सर हम सब आपको बहुत तहे दिल से इसके लिए धन्यवाद देते हैं कि कैसे आप चीज़ों को मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं। मैं प्रोफेसर अमरपाल सिंह सर को अपने बिजी शेड्यूल में टाइम निकाल करके यहाँ आए और आपने जो है NEP को इम्प्लीमेंटेशन कैसे किया जाए और आपके आशीर्वचन के लिए हम आपको बहुत धन्यवाद देते हैं। प्रोफेसर दीपक सर ने इंटर्नशिप के रोल को बताया और इंटर्नशिप के महत्व को भी बताया, और मैं फिर यहाँ कहना चाहता हूँ कि जो आपने बताई वो चीज़ें उनको प्रैक्टिकल धरातल पर उतारने के लिए जो है VC सर जो है एकदम लगे हुए हैं, और इसका परिणाम कुछ ही महीनों में हमको देखने को मिल जाएगा। क्योंकि जब तक एक अच्छी इंटर्नशिप और रियल इंटर्नशिप नहीं हो पा रही है, तब तक NEP को इफेक्टिवली धरातल पर ले आना और ये कह देना कि हम बहुत अच्छे एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट कर ले जाएंगे, ये पॉसिबल नहीं है। मैं प्रोफेसर तरुणा को भी जो है बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं कि इन्होंने जो है एक 2 डेज इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार ऑर्गेनाइज किया, और इन एडवांस दूसरे इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार जो इनका एकदम पाइपलाइन में है, बहुत जल्दी वाइस चांसलर सर के पास परमिशन के लिए जाएगा भी, जो ये बैंकॉक में कर रही हैं। तो इनके बैंकॉक वाला सेमिनार एकदम पाइपलाइन और उसका ब्लूप्रिंट रेडी है, बहुत जल्दी अप्रूव्ड होगा। तो नेक्स्ट इनका इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार वो बैंकॉक में होगा। उसके लिए भी मैडम मैं आपको एडवांस जो है वो धन्यवाद देता हूँ। और हमारे विश्वविद्यालय के सभी सीनियर प्रोफेसर, डीन ऑफ एकेडमिक प्रोफेसर विक्टर बाबू सर, फाइनेंस ऑफिसर सर, प्रोफेसर गजानंद पांडे और प्रोफेसर राजचरण शाही, जिन्होंने 3 बार ABVP के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष रहते हुए भी NEP में काफ़ी योगदान इन्होंने दिया था। और प्रोफेसर संगीता साहू मैडम, डीन स्कूल ऑफ मैनेजमेंट लखनऊ यूनिवर्सिटी, और इस विश्वविद्यालय में अभी जो हमने बुक का इनाग्रल किया उसमें कंट्रीब्यूशन के लिए प्रोफेसर सुनीता मैडम और डॉक्टर लता वाजपेयी मैडम, आप सभी लोगों का बहुत तहे दिल से धन्यवाद। हमारे विश्वविद्यालय के प्रॉक्टर और कंप्यूटर सेंटर से चीज़ों को अटैच करने के लिए कंप्यूटर सेंटर के डायरेक्टर प्रोफेसर द्विवेदी सर, आप सभी लोगों का, प्रोफेसर हरिशंकर सिंह सर और मेरे विभाग के सारे शिक्षकों का जो है बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और सबसे ज़्यादा अगर मतलब धन्यवाद मैं करता हूँ या तहे दिल से निकलता है, बिना किए भी निकल जाता है, तो हमारे प्यारे बच्चों, क्योंकि बिना आपकी उपस्थिति के कोई भी कार्यक्रम सफल नहीं होता है। और जब तक आप पहुँचते नहीं ना, तो हमारा दिल धड़कता रहता है कि इधर सारे गेस्ट आ गए, लेकिन अगर बच्चे नहीं आए तो कोई भी कार्यक्रम सफल नहीं होता है, वो फेल ही माना जाता है। लेकिन मैं बहुत ही खुश हूँ कि हमारे मुख्य अतिथि और विशिष्ट अतिथि ने आपकी प्रेजेंस को रिकॉग्नाइज किया, लेकिन असली प्रेजेंस तब है जब आपके इन कंट्रीब्यूशन, और जैसा हमारे मुखिया माननीय कुलपति जी अगर हर एक इंटर्नशिप को मॉनिटर कर रहे हैं, तो आप, बहुत से बच्चे अभी भी इंटर्नशिप पर हैं, तो जो आप इंटर्नशिप करके आए हैं MBA वाले लोग, उनका प्रेजेंटेशन माननीय कुलपति जी की उपस्थिति में कम से कम 10 अच्छे प्रेजेंटेशन इंटर्नशिप के जो है आपकी उपस्थिति में करने हैं हमको। तो उस सारे सब चीज़ों के लिए आप लोग अभी से तैयार हो जाइए, और उसके लिए मैं एडवांस धन्यवाद देता हूं, और ये इफेक्टिवली इम्प्लीमेंट होगा, इसको मान लीजिए। तो वंस अगेन थैंक्स टू ऑल द डिग्निटरीज एंड ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स फॉर देयर ब्लेसिंग्स एंड कंट्रीब्यूशंस। वंस अगेन थैंक टू ऑल।
Thank you, sir. As we mark the conclusion of this inaugural function, I request everyone to kindly stand up for the national song and national anthem.
सुजला सुफला मलयज शीतला सस्यश्यामला मातरं वन्दे मातरम् शुभ्रज्योत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी पुल्लकुसुमित द्रुमदलशोभिनी सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिणी सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम् जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 जय